Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and I warmly welcome you to my YouTube channel. This is Muhammad Hamza Nasser, and the purpose of this forum is to give people insights on how to prepare for your IELTS general as well as your IELTS academic exam. So in the previous classes, we were discussing some facets of reading, right? We talked about matching information, matching headings, matching features, writer reviews, and claims. We discussed an overview of the listening and reading, how to do a critical analysis of the information. Today, we're going to talk about MCQs, right? Multiple choice questions. Now, multiple choice questions have always been they've always been a bone of contention, right? They've always been a fundamental weakness for people, right? Normally, during my experience of teaching in Pakistan, right, and checking the papers, I feel that students generally make the most amount of mistakes in MCQs as well as writers' views or claims. The true, false, yes, no, not given questions. If we just talk about the reading module, agar aap sirf aur sirf reading ki baat kare. And why is that the case? Because there is a scientific term called information overload, right? We sometimes get saturated with information. Well, obviously, you have that saying, right? In today's world, we are drowning in information while starving for wisdom, right? But you see what happens is sometimes you have too many choices in front of you, and that can overwhelm you. Even if you have time underneath your belt, right? Even if you if you think you have done your research properly, you still feel a tad bit challenged, right? And this is more of a psychological dilemma. It's often at times, it's not related to lack of practice, right? See, no matter how many tests you do get this feeling, right? So the thing is, from a psychological perspective, we need to, first of all, eliminate the fear, just remove it from the picture, right? Just strike it out, right? First of all, be positive that no matter how many choices you have to select from, okay, if you have done your research and if you followed the checklist, the algorithm that I was talking about in the previous classes, then there is absolutely no reason why you should not be able to ace that formula, right? So what happens in MCQs? Let's say you have 4 choices, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. You have to select one out of it, right? Now you select one out of it. What people do is generally they try to extract the right option straight away, right? You see, there are different types. Let's stop talking about MCQs for a second. Let's talk about the reading, okay? How do we tackle the reading passage? I used to ask this question from my students, right, back in my teaching days in Pakistan. They were like, someone would say that, I would just skim and scan the passage first, and then I would look at the questions, then go back, skim and scan again. Someone would be like, yeah, I'll first start with the questions, then I will go to the passage and try to skim and scan and get the answers, right? I respect all these techniques. So what is skimming and scanning? Skimming and scanning is basically called, right, going through the information quickly without inquiring into the matter in depth, right? लोग अक्सर मुझसे पूछते हैं कि आप ही क्या अप्रोच थी इस सिनेरियो में, तो in that case I always say to them that what I used to do was that I would always start with a reading passage. I would always start with a reading passage. I would read it just once, but no skimming, no scanning. I used to focus on each and every word, each and every sentence, each and every paragraph, and I used to underline that all in depth. And after doing that, yes, please come in. So after doing all of that, thank you very much. Thank you. So after doing all of that, I used to move to the next part. But before moving to the next paragraph, I would make short notes next to each section that I used to study, okay? So basically, though, that note, those short words, right, they would basically help me understand what the paragraph is actually talking about, so that once I've read the whole passage just once, comprehensively, in detail, underlining and highlighting the keywords and making the short notes next to the paragraph, when I would go to the the question section, I would feel more comfortable, and that approach does end up saving time as well. I know it's easier said than done, but if you just practice, ultimately you'll feel that you'll start, getting in the groove. You'll feel like you'll start getting the basic knack of it. So that is precisely what we are actually going to talk about today. Okay, so that being said and done, let us begin our MCQs, right? So in the end, I will just say one thing. There's a thing called POE, process of elimination. So rather than trying to extract the right answer, first eliminate all those choices that you feel are unlikely, that are not feasible, that are not possible, that are basically incorrect. And when you eliminate the options that you feel cannot be entertained, that helps you narrow down your base, right? And when it narrows down the base, it gives you a better means of speculating, critically analyzing the scenario, and helping yourself up. It basically increases the probability of you obtaining the right answer. Okay, so please do deploy that approach whenever possible. So your 4 choices, first automatically eliminate 2, then you just have 2 options to play with, then do a bit of reasoning, revisit your notes, make sure your paragraphing is spot on, right? Make sure you read calmly and coolly, slowly, keep it simple, okay? Don't rush, don't, panic yourself, don't get overwhelmed by it, okay? And hopefully it will work for you, okay? So without further ado, we will be beginning our activity today. So I hope everyone can see the screen in good fashion. Yeah, there we go. So basically, this is an extract from one of the past papers, right? So let's talk about it. So today we're going to do a whole passage, right? Obviously, like we go before, we're going to read paragraph by paragraph. We're going to look at the keywords, see if there are any meanings that we're not understanding, right? We'll first discuss that. And once that is done, then we will look at the questions, see the instructions, and try to figure out the answers accordingly, okay? So let us begin. Note, this is an extract from Training Reading Section 3 text on the subject of coal. The text preceding this extract, fellas, what is the meaning of preceding? The text that came before this extract. Preceding का मतलब है किसी चीज से पहले करना. Cataloged means documented. The text preceding this extract cataloged the general belief that extracting and using coal is bad for the environment, okay? Now, let us begin, okay? First paragraph. Greenhouse gases arise from a wide range of sources, and the increasing concentration is largely related to the compound effects. Compound means multiple effects, numerous effects, aggregated effects, to the compound effects of increased population, improved living standards, and changes in lifestyle. From a current base of 5 billion, the United Nations predicts that the global population may stabilize in the 21st century between 8 and 14 billion, with more than 90% of the projected increase taking place in the world's developing nations. The associated activities to support that growth, particularly to produce the required energy and food, will cause further increases in greenhouse gas emissions. The challenge, therefore, is to attain a sustainable balance between population, economic growth, and the environment. Okay? Second paragraph. I guess, is there any word that we didn't understand, right? What is the meaning of prediction? A forecast, an estimation, okay? And compound effects means bulk, numerous, plural, aggregated effects. Yeah, good to go. Let's move to the second paragraph, fellows. Thank you. The major greenhouse gas emissions from human activities are carbon dioxide, CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide. Chlorofluorocarbon, CFCs, are the only major contributor to the greenhouse effect that does not occur naturally, coming from such sources as refrigeration, plastics, and manufacture. Coal's total contribution to greenhouse gas emissions is thought to be about 18%, with about half of this coming from electricity generation. Third paragraph. The worldwide coal industry allocates extensive resources, as in other words, it delegates or assigns extensive resources to researching and developing new technologies and ways of capturing greenhouse gases. Efficiencies are likely to be improved dramatically, quickly, suddenly, by a big margin, right? And hence, CO2 emissions reduced through combustion and gasification techniques, which are now at pilot and demonstration stages, right? So what do we mean by pilot stage? So I remember in my undergrad, right, back in Malvern and Ghulam Izza Khan, I, as chemical engineers, we had to do a final year project. So ours was on the topic of RED, reverse electrolysis, in which you basically mix seawater and water, right, through a partially permeable membrane to generate electricity, a project that had a lot of potential in terms of being deployed in places in Pakistan, like estuaries, places in Karachi where you have concentrated brine as well as the river water, seawater. So basically, pilot stage means that when you are investigating something new, when you're trying to deploy a startup, right, you will always first do it at the lab scale. After the lab scale, then you will go to the pilot stage, right, which is like the halfway point between the lab scale and the commercial scale. ये कभी नहीं होगा कि आप मतलब एक चीज को टेस्ट करते सीधे ही आप वापडा को बोलेंगे कि चलें ठीक है इसको पूरा कमर्शलाइज कर दें, बस चले 2 दिन बाद आपको अखबार में आए कि लाहौर में फ्लाइंग जगह पे एक धमाका हो गया, right? So obviously you're going to exercise the safety protocols, right? So pilot stage means it's a intermediate, demonstration stage, you can say. It's not really commercial, but it's one step, ahead of the laboratory stage. So I hope that is understood. And demonstration stage, next up. Clean coal is another avenue for improving fuel conversion efficiency. Clean coal is another avenue for improving fuel conversion efficiency. Investigations are underway into super clean coal, that is 3 to 5% ash, and ultra clean coal, less than 1% ash. Super clean coal has the potential, the capability, the possibility to enhance the combustion efficiency of conventional means old school, initial, pulverized fuel power plants. That's basically a process. Ultra clean coal will enable coal to be used in advanced power systems such as coal-fired gas turbines, which, when operated in combined cycle, have the potential to achieve much greater efficiencies. Right? Next up, defendants of mining, right? People who support the mining school of thought. Defenders of mining point out or state that environmentally, right, from an environmental perspective, coal mining has two important factors in its favor. It makes only temporary use of the land and produces no toxic chemical wastes. By carefully pre-planning projects, implementing pollution control measures, monitoring the effects of mining, and rehabilitating mined areas, the coal industry minimizes the impact on the neighboring community, the immediate environment, and long-term land capability. Next paragraph. Dust levels are controlled by spraying roads and stockpiles, right? Reserves, right? When you just keep on stocking something, right? And water pollution is controlled by carefully separating clean water runoff from runoff which contains sediments or salt from mine workings. The latter, right? The latter means the second one. In this case, they are saying, they were talking about sediments and they talked about the salt from mine workings. So former is the first one and the latter is the second one, which in this case would be salt from mine workings. The latter is treated and reused for dust suppression. What is the meaning of suppression? To suppress something, to minimize the generation of dust. Noise is controlled by modifying equipment and by using insulation and sound enclosures around machinery. So sound enclosures would mean, for example, you have an equipment, right? You just make a box around it, right? Or something of like steel or something, right? And just to make sure that it minimizes the noise factor, right? Reduces the chances of disturbance in the neighborhood. Next up, right, last paragraph, since mining activities represent only a temporary use of the land, extensive rehabilitation measures are adopted to ensure that land capability after mining meets agreed and appropriate standards, which in some cases are superior to the land's pre-mining condition. Where the mining is underground, the surface area can be simultaneously used for forests, cattle grazing, and crop raising, or even reservoirs and urban development with little or no disruption to the existing land use. In all cases, last sentence, in all cases, mining is subject to, in other words, it's conditioned upon, it's based on stringent controls. Stringent means tight, strict controls and approvals processes. In all cases, mining is subject to stringent controls and approvals processes. All right, so in total, we have read 7 paragraphs that correspond to the training reading sections we text on the subject of coal. And now that we have read them, we'll come to our questions. First of all, so sample task questions 1 to 5, right? Choose the correct letter A, B, C, or D. Write your answers in boxes 1 to 5 on your answer sheet. तो यहाँ से आपने क्या infer कर लिया कि you have 5 questions, right? हर question में आपके पास 4 choices given and you have A, B, C, and D, and you have to choose the correct letter. Okay, for example, just saying, if let's say the answer for 1 is the third option, that is reduced rainfall in many parts of the world. If you write in the answer sheet reduced rainfall in many parts of the world, that follows is going to be incorrect. Okay, the answer is going to be C, C for Charlie. All right. So first of all, when it comes to MCQs, read the question properly. The global increase in greenhouse gases has been attributed to. See, once again, IELTS is a game of paraphrasing. If your paraphrasing is not good, if your grips over synonyms and antonyms lack, right? And by the way, there is a very good book on synonyms and antonyms called 501 Synonyms and Antonyms by Bridget MC Dermott. I really request all of you to download that, right? It should be available on the internet in the form of PDF, right? If not, please feel free to reach out to me in the comment section, all right? Feel free to, I'll obviously be making sure that I provide my email address from now onwards in the comment section. So please feel free to email me for that. It'd be my pleasure to share it with you, all right? Appreciate it. So the global increase in greenhouse gases has been attributed. What's the meaning of attributed to? They're talking about the reason for the increase in global greenhouse gases, the global increase in greenhouse gases, right? So you have different options, right? Industrial pollution, coal mining, and all. So let's go through the past and let's even get the answer from there. Greenhouse gases arise from a wide range of sources, and their increasing concentration is largely related to. Increasing concentration means obviously an increase in the greenhouse gas is largely related to. They're talking about the reasons. What are the causes? Compound effects of increased population, improved living standards, and changes in lifestyle. So population, living standards, and lifestyle, this is what I'm looking for in the answer key. Nope, nope, nope. There you go. All right, trends in population and lifestyle. So the answer for 1 will be D for Delta, okay? They actually gave us 3 reasons: population, change in lifestyle, as well as living standards. And they haven't talked about living standards. So I guess it's okay if we just stick with this one. Okay, so the answer for 1 is D for Delta. Number two, the proportion. The proportion means the amount, right? Or the concentration. The proportion of all greenhouse gases created by coal is approximately, as in, and that you're just talking about an estimated percentage, right? The proportion of all greenhouse gases created by coal is approximately this percent. So this is very simple. We just go to the passage and look for a percentage that is related to greenhouse gases. Alrighty, let's see if we can find any sort of percentage over here, right? The major greenhouse gas emission from main activity of CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, CFCs, blah, 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 coal's total contribution to greenhouse gas emissions ought to be about 18%. Not just a percentage, but also make sure that it is associated with greenhouse gas emissions, because that is what they're actually talking about in the question paper. The proportion of all greenhouse gases created by coal is approximately 18%. There you go. All right. So far, as you can see, the answers are coming in chronological order. So the answer for 1 was D for Delta, 2 was B for Bravo. All right. Next up, let's go to number 3. Current research aims to increase the energy producing efficiency of coal by A, burning it at a lower temperature, B, developing new gasification techniques, C, extracting CO2 from it, D, recycling greenhouse gases. Okay. Current research aims to increase the energy producing efficiency of coal. These are, like, fellas, our keywords. This is exactly what we're looking for. Energy producing efficiency of coal, right? So let's go down and let's see if we can get something on it. Let's read this. Efficiencies are likely to be, and let's zoom it in as well so that everyone has a good amount of, adequate exposure to it. Efficiencies are likely to be improved dramatically, as in certainly, quickly, exponentially, and hence CO2 emissions reduced through combustion and gasification techniques, which are now at pilot and demonstration stages. All right. So the answer for that clearly is combustion and gasification techniques. They haven't talked about combustion, but gasification techniques will suffice for us. So the answer for 3 is B for Bravo. All right. And like I said before in the very beginning, process of elimination. Okay. What you could do is you could revisit that paragraph and see that you will see that there's no mention that lower temperature, that burning at a lower temperature is going to increase the efficiency. They haven't mentioned at any stage that extracting CO2 will enhance the efficiency. They haven't said that recycling greenhouse gases will increase the efficiency. So the answer for 3 will be, so automatically, we eliminate these incorrect choices unless we left with the right answer, which in this case is B for Bravo. So 3 is developing new gasification techniques. All right. Thank you. Next up, let's talk about this. Compared with ordinary coal, new clean coals, right? The clean coals, right? They may generate power more cleanly and more efficiently. That is option A for us. B is more cleanly but less efficiently. C is more cleanly but at a higher cost, whereas D is more cleanly but much more slowly. All right. So in all these 4 cases, we can identify that more cleanly is definitely an option. Okay, it applies the same in all of us. So at the end of the day, the difference comes down to, is it about efficiency? Is it about cost? Is it about the time factor? For which case, right, we will go down and look at the section of clean coals, right? Let's see where that comes. There you go, clean coals, right? Clean coal is another avenue for improving fuel conversion efficiency. Investigations are underway into super clean coal and ultra clean coal. Super clean coal has the potential to enhance the combustion efficiency of conventional pulverized fuel power plants, blah, 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 which when operating combined cycle have the potential to achieve much greater efficiencies. From that, can we argue that they're talking about the efficiency concept? The more clean the coal, the more efficient it is? Definitely. So compared with ordinary coal, new clean coals may generate power more cleanly and more efficiently. So the answer for 4 will be A for alpha. All right. Uske baad ab chale number 5 pe. To control dust at mine sites, mining companies often use A, chemicals which may be toxic, B, topsoil taken from the mine before mining, then C is fresh water from nearby dams, D is runoff water containing sediments. All right. So these mining companies, right, they have a big, they're given a big task, right, to, inculcate some sort of dust suppression. So let's see what they have done over here. All right. Dust levels, right? So since that is the imperative focus, right? Always underline the keywords in the question statement and search specifically for them, while obviously in this case also being aware of the fact that the answers will be coming in chronological order, right? So dust levels are controlled by spraying roads and stockpiles, and water pollution is controlled by carefully separating clean water runoff from runoff which contains sediments or salt from mine workings. The latter is treated and reused for dust suppression. So runoff, that is basically the case. That will be D for us. Runoff water containing dust sediments. Okay, so the answer for number 5 is clearly going to be D for delta. Okay, thank you. Number 6, this is a bit what you call unorthodox question, right? These are the questions that I always loved solving. And if it were up to me, to design the syllabus for IELTS, I'll definitely make sure I throw more of these around, right? It's pretty much fun. So anyways, choose the most suitable title for the text from the list below. Write the correct letter A, B, C, or D in your box 6 on your answer sheet. A is pollution control in coal mining. B is the greenhouse effect. C is the coal industry and the environment. D is sustainable population growth, right? So title for the text, वो basically आपसे क्या पूछ रहे हैं कि जो पूरा हमने text पढ़ा है, all this whole passage that we've just seen, right? I mean, you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these 7 paragraphs worth of text that we read on the subject of coal, right? If this whole text could be represented by a particular heading, what would be the words in that heading, right? You have 4 options over here. By the way, fellas, this is on the second page. So always make sure in the exam, right? Especially if you're giving, if you're going for the manual paper-based system, make sure that you always turn over the pages. Sometimes students often, they experience this surge of overconfidence thinking that they've done it all. बाद में पता चलता है कि उन्होंने थोड़े बहुत क्वेश्चन मिस कर लिए. तो मेरी आप सबसे एक गुजारिश है, एक बहुत एक हम्बल नसीहत है कि आप लोग काइंडली जो है पूरे मेक श्योर करें कि आपने सारे पेजेस को केयरफुली गो थ्रू किया बिफोर यू सबमिट इट, राइट? आपने आपके पेरेंट्स ने बहुत सारी इन्वेस्टमेंट की है इसमें, राइट? योर फ्यूचर इज ऑन द लाइन. इट रियली देयर इज अ लॉट एट स्टेक, सो प्लीज मेक श्योर दैट you don't rob yourself of your shot at glory and success by making these silly blunders. Okay, so stay confident, be humble, but more importantly be ambitious, and I'm telling you, right, anything is possible in life. So write the correct letter, right? So what represents the whole paragraph? Pollution control in coal mining. Bilkul, yes, definitely pollution control in coal mining, it has been mentioned. But has it been mentioned in every paragraph? Let me give you a trick. If you have to select a heading for a passage, you have to select those choice of words which are being mentioned in literally each and every paragraph or each and every component of the passage. Okay. So आप अगर इसमें अगर देखें, chemicals which may be toxic, this is the wrong question. Pollution control in coal mining, sustainable population growth. So yeah, sustainable population growth, I believe it was mentioned in the very first paragraph, right? Sustainable balance between population and everything. But after the first paragraph, there was absolutely no mention of it, right? Then you talk about the greenhouse effect, right? Option B, yes, the greenhouse effect, it has been talked about, right? Especially in the first 2 paragraphs, right? But it has not been talked about in the whole passage, right? Then you have what do you have? This one, pollution control in coal mining. Yes, definitely they've talked about dust suppression, runoff containing sediments and everything. In the later stages of the passage, it has been talked about, but once again, in the early stages, you don't see any mention of that. However, see, this is me employing POE, process of elimination. If you look at the third option, option C, the coal industry and the environment. The coal industry and the environment. This is something that we can definitely contend for, because literally every paragraph is either talking about the environment, okay, environment, right, coal industry, right? Then obviously what is happening in those coal industries, clean coal mining, right? Then how the dust levels are suppressed in the coal generation process, right? And then obviously again they're talking about rehabilitation measures, which is clearly a reference to the environment. So see, you have to pick up these keywords, you have to pick up these vibes, right? So in this case, we feel the coal industry and the environment will be that adequate heading which will perfectly sum up the whole paragraph. Okay, so the answer for number 6 will be C for Charlie. So just to summarize it, 1 is D for Delta, 2 is B for Bravo, 3 is B for Bravo, 4 is A for Alpha, 5 is D for Delta, 6 is C for Charlie. All right. I feel when I upload this video on YouTube, I'll definitely be making sure I attach my email address in the comment section if you want more. If there's a certain section of my teaching lecture where you feel that you did not really understand what I said, right? Please feel free to reach out to me on it. I'll also make sure I share my contact details. So I always look forward to resolving your queries. Apart from that, please do not hesitate to ask questions. Okay, there's no such thing as a stupid question, right? You going through all the video stuff, right, and at the same time, having queries but not sharing them with me, that is you being harsh on yourself, or your growth. That is pretty much everything. That is the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. So make sure that you come forward with your queries, and apart from that, please do not forget to like and subscribe the channel. And I'm very much humbled by the intense support that you've offered to me. I am extremely honored, and I hope that I can continue to I hope I continue to be of assistance to you courtesy of this YouTube channel. So thank you very much, fellas. In the next class, we are going to be talking about summary completion questions, okay? And along with that, definitely the next, I actually am running short of time. I have to go to my, I have to have some project stuff pending. Otherwise, I would have definitely talked about that as well. So in the next video, we'll definitely talk about summary questions as well as the usual drill, 5 words with meanings and sentences, idioms, as well as spelling. So thank you very much, fellas. See you. Take care. Bye-bye.